All right, this is the Big Douglas Show. Subscribe, like, hit the notification button. I'm Big Douglas. That's the rapper Big Pooh. And it is my pleasure to welcome the radio play-by-play voice for the Wizards, Dave Johnson. Dave, thanks for joining us today.
Appreciate the time. Appreciate the interest and passion in NBA and Wizards basketball.
No doubt. Now, one thing I know for sure over the years is that play-by-play guys love to do play-by-play for all sports and any sports. Dave, I'm curious, what is the strangest game that you've called before?
Ooh, that's a good. I've called a little bit of everything, from field hockey to volleyball. I remember years ago calling a volleyball game. The thing about volleyball, it can go either 3 sets or 5 sets. And if it goes 5 sets, it fills up the television window. This match between Duke and North Carolina went 3 sets, and we had all this time to fill up. And I had the terror of the producers in my ear, and this was an ACC television broadcast. And all of a sudden, somebody sat down, and I didn't get in my ear who the guest was. So now we're live on television. I've got somebody sitting next to me. I have no idea who this person is, but fortunately, my color commentator, I looked at her and said, well, we have a very special guest. I gave her the eyes and just hoping that she would fill in the blank, and she knew the person. So it does put you in some interesting situations when you're in uncharted waters, so to speak, with sports you're not regularly covering. But name a sport, I've probably done it, but I don't know if anything, the challenge of like lacrosse, like men's and women's lacrosse have different rules. So like on the same weekend, I'd have to remember this is different in the women's game, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, I love to do anything. I'll do play-by-play. You guys arm wrestling for the right price.
Dave, obviously as a play-by-play man, you have a very deep passion for sports, but what led you down the path of wanting to be a play-by-play guy? Well,
in many ways, as I've said, I've not grown up. When I was a kid, and it's life's come full circle in a way as I'm dealing with multiple sclerosis now. My mother had multiple sclerosis, and she was confined to a wheelchair, and I used to cut lineups out of the paper. There was a thing called newspaper back then. There wasn't this internet that we were talking on. I'm that old. So you cut, and I was always excited when there were starting lineups or box scores or that type of thing. So I would take the lineups and recreate my games, and she would be my one person audience. So that really is where the passion for play-by-play, if that's the right word, or the interest or whatever, it was just kind of what I did. And I had an audience of one, my mother. Now there's some nights if we're losing badly, I wonder if I'm back to having just an audience of one, but it was certainly a special time in my childhood.
Dave, I'm curious, in the time of COVID, what's the biggest challenges that you face doing the play-by-play? You guys are not in the stadiums anymore, if I'm right on that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's I mean, you're appreciative that we have games, and I say that because not because we're bored or we don't have Netflix videos or whatever. I mean, this is an industry that it's not about the players in most of these sports are make pretty good livings, and they probably could last for a couple of years without a paycheck. But there's so many people, the cameramen, we're literally talking thousands, depending on the sport you're talking about. With that, this is just an industry like any other industry. So, as we go through this COVID period, and it's lasted a lot longer than I think any of us expected, it's important we try to do things as safely as we can do it. Now I'm by myself as I'm talking to you, but I've got my mask in case I'm, somebody's, you just do the best you can, but we do need to try to do things, and we do need to try to work, not because of greed but we all have to feed our families. We have to go to the grocery store, and so it's important that we're trying games, but it is difficult with it. You miss the crowds. I mean, I think about, the game-winning craziness of our win over the Brooklyn Nets, where Bradley Beal hits a 3, and then Garrison Matthews a steal, and Russell Westbrook a 3. There's no canned crowd noise in the world that can replicate what that arena what Capital One Arena would have been like had there been fans there. And so it forces you to adjust your voice a little bit, especially also on road games. So, and there, I mean, there's times, things are going on where we'll go to review something, you're not quite, sure what's happening. So it's just not the same. But as I say that, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I'm deeply appreciative that we have games to talk about, and we're going to get through this, and we're going on.
Dave, what is it like being able to call games of a player like Bradley Beal's caliber every night?
Well, players like Bradley Beal and they challenge you because they're constantly getting better. They're constantly improving. So especially on the radio side, you're trying to describe what they're doing, the little step backs, the jab steps, the crossover, the snap drill. And, suddenly it really, you got to stay on your guard because you never know what he's going to do. He's now, part of his game is hanging in the air as he approaches the basket. So he gets that contact. So it's special to watch somebody and to watch somebody as often as I have, because obviously, his whole career I've been along for that journey. And I just think about where he was, when he started 9 years ago to where he is now. We're talking leading scorer, the assist. It's a true joy to be able to watch somebody grow like that and every step of the way. So we had the same thing with John Wall when he was here. And so it's fun when you get that big snapshot of a player's career, or in this case, Bradley Beal, his entire career.
Dave, you mentioned John. He'll be coming back today. It feels unfortunate that his homecoming will be in an empty arena, because I'm sure that the district would have loved to give him the welcome that he deserved. What's up? Think about this John Wall return.
What's that?
I would just say, what do you think about the John Wall return and the unfortunateness that it'll be empty there?
Yeah, and I think Bradley Beal kind of addressed it, because we played them already in Houston, and the full impact of that, will not be felt until certainly next season. I've got to believe we'll have fans in stands, and if not before that, and the next time Houston comes to Capital One Arena. And look, 9 years, 5 All-Star appearances, the playoff appearances. He was a wonderful ambassador on and off the court for this franchise. It is unfortunate that we've not been able to keep him on the court for the last few years. That's not to say now that he's played 17 games and hopefully he's fully healthy and he can continue his career. But there is pressure on the Wizards to take advantage of this window with a player we just talked about, Bradley Beal. The reality is now you're trying to take advantage of that with Russell Westbrook and then a collection of very good young players. And it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes, because I'm not making excuses, but it's every team. And this is why we joked about, it seems like only the Utah Jazz and LA Lakers are winning and everybody else has 13 losses or whatever. So if this team can ever get in a rhythm, I think it can really show what it can be capable of. What it can be capable of is a playoff team. I'm not saying the team's ready to contend for the Eastern Conference yet, but certainly the John Wall years, and certainly I'll never forget him on top of that scorers table when he made that shot after he made that shot against the Boston Celtics. So just special memories. I think of his 360 moves at Christmas Day 2014 Madison Square Garden, or he a special talent and worthy of the fact that this franchise picked him #1 overall when they drafted him in 2010.
Dave, I'm interested to know, as a play-by-play announcer, how is it calling games during the season when the team isn't, like this season, when the team isn't necessarily playing as well as everyone would hope?
It adds to the challenge. I think about producing the pregame show for the Celtics, a recent game, the Celtics game on a Sunday, and that was coming off a loss to the Knicks on the previous Friday. And you're like, all right, well, what is my storyline here? We're starting to sound like a broken record. And And unfortunately, they get the win over the Celtics. I think that what is, it's really frustrating when you're calling a team and it's veteran players and you don't, and they're not doing well, and you don't see where, what this could get better. You're feeling like, well, this is all this team has. Whereas for this Wizards team, it is frustrating because you feel like they should be better, right now, and they should be better than 6-17 as we talk, or 7-17 as we talk, or 6. I forget now. I've lost track of the record, but that doesn't matter. The point being, but you see potential. You're like, wow, Rui Hachimura is going to be a player in this league for a while. Denny Avdia, we've just gotten glimpses of it, and then the COVID shutdown, and he's trying to come back into form. So, Mo Wagner in a recent game, or somebody that Garrison Matthews a year ago, before he scored 28 against Miami, we're all scrambling like, all right, now we got to learn this guy's name and what he's all about. So, losses are tough when you're with a team. And you're basically communicating for the most part to the fans of that team. You call it like it is, and you call games like it is, and you discuss, the shortcomings. But you feel it, and especially when you're traveling with a team, and you're really embedded with a team for a whole season, it's difficult. But the good thing about this Wizards team is you really believe, or I really believe that, all right, there's a lot of exciting parts here that we've not seen the best of yet. And so that gives you hope. Every time you come to the arena, like, what, maybe this will be the night, and we'll see something from a certain player we've never seen before, and that's exciting.
I know a couple of the players have commented about the slow starts. What is it that they feel like has made it so hard to get off the quick starts and always trying to come from behind?
Yeah, and obviously in a recent game against the Celtics, that they didn't have that slow start, and it led to a victory, and also holding a team under 100 points. I know it sounds silly, but communication, it was talked about as being such an issue with having such a young team. There has to be that trust build up and a trust on defense, and Scott Brooks made a comment, that was one of the things Mo Wagner added to the equation, because he's, as he says, he's not shy, and there's times they wish he would shut up because he's talking too much, but it sounds like such a simple thing, but at the end of the day, the NBA is an incredible league. There's billions of people on this planet, and there's only 400, 500 NBA players. So what is separating? Everybody that's in the NBA is good. Every team that's in the NBA has good players. That's why I would always laugh during bad seasons when somebody say, well, I bet you Kentucky, or name the top college basketball team, could take the 30th ranked NBA team. No, they couldn't, because a team like Kentucky or whoever might have 2 or 3 prospects and guys that'll develop into NBA players. NBA teams have real men who are real players, and it would not be a matchup. So this team has shown, the Wizards, that look last year. Look at the numbers last year. It's a playoff team offensively. It's not defensively. It's we don't have to. There's not many ways to have to say it. If this team can learn to defend consistently, it can achieve a lot. I mean, we're talking, if you look at the scoring numbers, it can achieve a lot. But it is about that consistency. They know they are capable of it. If it has to be a team with more of an edge, and with that communication on defense. And quite frankly, that's why in a recent game against the Celtics, that a Garrison Matthews and a Mo Wagner get a start, because they're looking for that dog, or whatever the phrase is. And this team, quite frankly, has not really had that, for a while. I mean, quite frankly, we were hoping Markieff Morris would be that player during that time. But you need, I know I'm dating myself, but you go back, and that's why I used to always love like a Gerald Wallace, how he played. I thought, boy, I'd love to see him on the way. So it's players like that, because we don't need scoring. We know how to score. Well, everybody needs scoring in the NBA. There's never enough points, never enough 3-pointers. But you need that edge, that dog, if you will. And that's what's going to make the difference. And I think about that Celtics game. I'm referencing that a lot, but it's the most recent game. But Garrison Matthews doesn't score in that game, and he's one of the reasons why they won. A critical point in the third quarter when the Celtics were trying to make a push, and Garrison Matthews comes up with a couple of steals, and he gets into Jaylen Brown's kitchen. That's a turning point of the game. You're not going to. Jaylen Brown's still going to get his, but you make it difficult for him. That's how you beat these good teams.
Dave, I want to know. I know it's not this current version of the Wizards, but in your 2+ decades covering this team, what was your favorite team to cover? Was it the Michael Jordan years, the Gilbert Arenas years? I believe you might have been there for the Juwan Howard, Chris Webber years. Like, what was your favorite time to cover this team?
That's a tough question because, and it's sincerely a tough question because it truly is. I'm living, again, getting back to what you asked me, got into this. I was a 6-year-old cutting box scores out of the paper, doing play-by-play for my mom. So if anybody doesn't think I don't take every night as a gift, let me tell you something. I love every night and I love even a 19-win season. Maybe love's not the right word on a 19-win season, but I'm appreciative of the environment that I'm in. But we would have liked to, I think of those 2 decades, you would have liked to have had, more sustained success. I think about the Juwan Howard, Chris Webber, and we made the playoffs. I was doing actually some television at the time, along with radio, and Michael. That's when Michael Jordan anointed us the team of the future, and then health didn't work out. Georgie Mirasan didn't come back healthy, and that team never did become the team of the future. But the Gilbert Arenas years were certainly special years, especially that 2007 period when it seemed like he would hit game-winning shots like it was standing operating procedure. That was special to be a part of that time. And the period of time is John Wall and Bradley Beal came together with I think about that feeling of 2014. As they finally make the playoffs. That was a special time because it'd been out of the playoffs for a while, and I still don't. There was that Indiana series where somehow we kept winning on the road and losing at home. I still don't understand how we didn't beat the Pacers that year, but that was a fun team with fun characters. The Marching Gortats. Yeah, obviously I've given you a typical Washington answer, not giving you. I've dodged the question, but it's a good question. But to be honest, I haven't thought about it. But if I had to put a favorite period of time, it probably was in that period where the Wizards were making the playoffs. The Gortats, the Walls, Drew Gooden, who you see now on television. There were so many storylines, and you really did get the sense something was developing because it was, and it was a fun team.
Dave, it's game day, and I know you're busy, and we appreciate your time today. Before we let you run out of here, I was hoping you'd tell us a little bit. You guys are doing the hashtag radio party during the game. I was hoping you'd tell us a little bit about what you got going on there.
Well, you want radio is a very intimate medium, and that's something that actually started from the fans years ago. As we started to interact on social media, and I remember when we threw our Twitter handles out. This is again about 2014, or going into that year where we ended up making the playoffs. And it's like if you throw it out there and nobody responds, then it doesn't go anywhere. Well, the next thing you know, listeners started responding, and getting into talks about players or talks about whether red vines are better than Twizzlers, licorice debates, or God knows what, because every game's not going to be scintillating. So sometimes you get off track a little bit, but it's a chance for fans to interact. And I think it's important that it's not especially in this age, once upon a time, we wrote letters and got things in the mail, and that was good enough for us. But now we want to be able to know that, our opinion is heard, our voices are heard. And, we call it Radio Party because it's somebody else coined that and said, this is kind of like a party getting together. And at times, tough subjects are brought up, and needless to say, there's frustration about the team, and we address that on Twitter. So the important thing is, I think, that people that are listening, that are fans, know how important they are to the whole process, and that it shouldn't be passive. It should be an active experience if you want. And maybe you just want to sit and listen, or drive and listen, or whatever. But if you want to interact, we'll interact back with you. And so that's part of it.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate your time. Like I said, it's game day. You gotta run. So we appreciate you once again.
Yeah, I'm in an exotic hallway here at Capital One Arena, an empty hallway at Capital One Arena. But one day we're going to have fans back. Typically, they'd be starting to fry the burgers over here to my right, and they got sodas here, Pepsi, Colas, but that'll be one day. We'll look forward to that one day.
All right. You have a good one. Have a good call tonight.
I appreciate the time, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.